Hello, and welcome to Your Yes Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, and this podcast is for high performing, empathic women who are ready to stop second guessing themselves and start trusting what they know. Maybe you're successful in your career or business. People rely on you. You make difficult decisions every day, and yet, sometimes the moment someone else's emotions, expectations, or opinions enter the conversation, your own clarity starts to disappear. If you've ever wondered, how can I be so confident everywhere else in my life but struggle to trust myself when it comes to my own needs, you are in the right place. Each week, we'll explore self-trust, nervous system regulation, emotional energy, boundaries, intuition, and the everyday moments where your life changes, not because you've become someone new, but because you learn to stay connected to yourself. I'll share client stories, my own experiences, practical tools, and honest conversations to help you stop abandoning yourself and start creating a life that's truly your own. Because I believe you already know more than you trust, and that is a yes-filled life. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. If you regularly leave conversations feeling exhausted, heavy, irritated, scattered, or like you need an hour or maybe a week to get yourself back, I'm going to give you 3 things you can do to protect your energy without shutting people out of your life. And the third one matters more than even I realized before this week, because I recently watched the cost of not protecting and honoring my energy show up in actual numbers in my business. My TikTok live performance dropped to about 25% of what I normally see immediately after a conversation where I knew I wasn't protecting or honoring my energy. And I had never seen the cost show up quite so tangibly or clearly before. And we're going to talk about it. This is also a huge part of the work that we do inside of Power Self-Trust for Empaths, because being an empath does not mean everyone gets unlimited access to you. In fact, being an empath, you need more boundaries than most people. Enrollment opens in September, and our next cohort begins September 29th. Okay, so I have a client who is one of my most favorite clients, and she is an energy practitioner who has studied with me. In fact, she's received certifications in energetic modalities from me. So we've worked together. She knows all the things. She texted me yesterday and she said that she had held a specific number of different types of healing modality energy sessions. And today she was depleted, like in bed, exhausted, could hardly move. And she was really worried and a little scared because she knew it was connected, but didn't know quite how and didn't know what to do. And so we talked about the ways that she could get her energy back. Literally, her physical energy was so depleted, she could not function because she hadn't adequately protected her energy in these sessions. And so I use the word energy sick to talk about this. This can happen to anyone who's working with people. It happens to teachers, doctors, nurses, anybody that's dealing with the public. A lot of the exhaustion that you feel at the end of the day is not just exhaustion, not just burnout. It's actually energy sickness. Now, is there a component of burnout that's possible? Absolutely. Absolutely, that can happen. But a lot of what we deal with is energy sickness. And it's where you give too much of your own energy to a point where the tipping point of you being okay, not okay, has crossed into not okay. You overgive your own energy. So it might look like you experience exhaustion, like literally cannot move kind of exhaustion, or irritation, heaviness, brain fog, can't make a decision, can't focus, feeling scattered, wanting everyone to leave you alone. It can also mean that you have actual spikes or drops in your blood sugar, It can mean that you have spikes or drops in your blood pressure. All of this can be impacted by energy. So, in my client's case, she was experiencing such extreme exhaustion that she was bedridden for a day after she held that certain number of energy sessions. And she reached out to say, I know this is connected to the energy sessions, but what do I do? So we talked about it. We talked about we need more hydration. We need more protein, especially in recovery from energy. That's why if you've ever been in session with me or you've been in a group with me or at retreats or even TikTok lives, there's a certain tipping point that I'll feel in my own body when I'm like, I have to eat something. It's not because I'm necessarily hungry. It's because I know I need protein. Protein is not negotiable if you are energetically sensitive. It's just not negotiable. Doesn't mean you have to eat meat. Doesn't mean you have to eat dairy, but you do need protein. And there's a lot of great sources of protein. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. You'll need to do your own research, but you can't skip on the protein, especially if you're in energy work. You can't skip on the hydration. And then basic energetic hygiene, which is something that I teach to all of my clients. Calling back your energy, releasing energy that's not yours, zipping up. All of that is essential. So, a lot of times, as people that are empathic in nature, probably sensitive, probably intuitive, we'll start to feel our energetic reserves getting low. And then we think to ourselves, but she's going through a lot. I bet I can just push through one more. Or he really needs me. Or it's just one more hour. How much difference could it make? Or I don't want them to be disappointed. No, that has to stop. Before you explain the signal away or you justify it, you notice it. And that is a big micro win. Huge, actually, micro win just to notice. If you've ever been present with me on a TikTok live reading or in a reading in general, or in my power community or the Empowered Empath Collective calls, or you've seen me in retreats, there's a point at which I will say, I can feel my energy changing. I need to go replenish. It's not negotiable. And if you're energetically sensitive, intuitive, empathic, it's not negotiable for you either. You have to start to pay attention to your energy. So I have two things for you in this before we move on to the other two. I guess you're going to have more than 3 tips today. You're going to have at least 4. So one is you're going to start to track your energy. You're going to notice what or who consistently leaves you feeling different after you interact with them. That's number 1. And number 2, what are your unique tells in your body that tell you your energy is beginning to deplete? It might feel like heaviness in the eyes or heaviness in your arms or feeling like you can't get your thoughts straight, a lack of focus. Maybe it's actually tiredness. Maybe it's feeling hungry. Maybe it's noticing that you're not moving as quickly. Notice whatever it is for you. We're each unique individuals, and so it'll be a little different for each of us, but those are some common things I would start to look at. So you're going to pay attention to what or who makes you feel different, and you're going to track your own body systems. Now, listen, if you want a tool to help you track this, go download the energy audit. It's free. It's brendawinkle.com/audit. I'll put the link in the show notes. That is like a no-brainer. And for those of you that have already downloaded it and my clients, go use it. Go use it. It's designed to be able to be used again and again and again. Now, this is part of what we're exploring right now inside the Empowered Empath Collective as we work with intuition, because the truth is you cannot trust the information that you're getting if you're constantly overriding and depleting your own energy. So when you're forcing things, when you're going way beyond when you're tired, you're overriding your own intuitive nudges. So you have to learn your own signals. And then learning to protect your own energy is a part that goes with that. Now, let's move on to the second thing. I was taught something very specific about boundaries. And I've sort of known this for a while, but I was on the phone with my mom today. Yes, the very day I'm recording with you. And I was explaining to my mom about a certain situation that I'm dealing with. I'm not going to get into here on the podcast. And it's a situation that is requiring me to maintain and enforce some boundaries. And I want you to hear what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. My mom did not do anything bad or wrong or malicious. She said something culturally normal for the way that she was taught to live in the world. My mom is a baby boomer. And she said, as I was talking about the boundaries, don't burn your bridges. And I sort of went light bulb moment because I felt it in my nervous system. I was like, oh, and there it is. There's the phrase that my body remembers learning as a child and as a teenager, and what I've heard repeated all my life. If you set a boundary, you're burning a bridge. That's what I was taught overtly and also modeled. If you set a boundary, you're going to burn a bridge. If you don't, if you're not familiar with the term burn a bridge, it means you're going to potentially end a relationship or permanently damage a relationship or a situation where there's no coming back from it. And so I was taught, and it was said again to me today, don't burn your bridges. Like, yeah. In fact, my mom said, well, you can be cantankerous or you can continue doing this situation that I was talking to her about. And I was like, oh, it's interesting that it's such a zero sum game. Like, it's not a zero sum game. It's not either I don't set a boundary and I'm a doormat and or I'm cantankerous. It's not I don't set a boundary, so I have to just tolerate a bunch of bullshit or I burn my bridges. No, that's what your nervous system wants you to think. That's literally what your brain wants you to think. And that's definitely what my brain was taught. So, underneath that phrase is this old lesson that if you say no, people might leave. You might lose opportunities. Someone will get mad. You could be rejected. You could be canceled. Maybe you'll be punished. You could, quote unquote, burn a bridge. And given my own personal history, this is absolutely why I struggled with boundaries. It, I mean, that and the childhood sexual abuse and the abuse of marriage and all the other things. I didn't realize until today how overtly boundaries had been coded as dangerous in my body. Now, I want to be clear. I have worked through this. I teach boundaries. My friends call me the boundary queen. So this is something that I have and continue to work through. But this realization of how right in front of my face this messaging was that boundaries are dangerous was absolutely astonishing. And when you start to do this deep inner work, like probably you're on that journey right now, you're also going to have these realizations about how overt the messages that you're working through have been throughout your life. But the thing I want to say to you is, as an empath, boundaries are essential. They're not negotiable because your energy is so precious and we need your energy in the world. We need your energy in your work. You can't squander it, and not everybody has earned access to it. And setting a boundary is not burning a bridge. I have said this until I am blue in the face, and I'm going to say it again. There are only two reasons why someone would object to you setting a boundary. Reason number one, you're setting a boundary they can't see themselves setting. Reason number two, they are benefiting from you not setting the boundary. So if you set a boundary and you burn a bridge, that was never a safe bridge to cross in the first place. Boundaries are not negotiable. They're just not. Now, I want you to understand that there can be real consequences when we begin to set boundaries if we've never had boundaries. We might need to teach people, I'm working on boundaries. I'm going to be doing some things differently. It might be really uncomfortable. I might be clumsy as I am working in this because I really don't know how to do it. But I want you to know I care about you and I love you and I'm setting these boundaries. It's okay for someone to dislike your boundaries. It's okay for them to be uncomfortable. It's also okay for you to be uncomfortable as you're getting used to setting these boundaries. It's okay for the relationship to change and evolve. And it is possible that you might lose access to something. Something might shift as a result of you setting this boundary. But I want to come back to the two reasons why someone would object to having your boundary. You're setting a boundary they can't, or they're benefiting from you not having the boundary. So if that bridge burns down, burn, baby, burn. That's how I feel about it. Now, that doesn't mean that makes it automatically easy. That's the nervous system work we do inside power. That's a huge part of the reason we do breath work, we do tapping, we do somatic work, we do somatic coaching, we do hot seat coaching, because your nervous system has to get on board with you being able to set boundaries before you can set those boundaries. Because if your nervous system is coding boundary setting is dangerous, you cannot set the boundary no matter how much you want to. We have to get the nervous system on board first, and then we can set the boundary. Okay, so the action step for number 2 is make a list of boundaries you know that you need to set, and try to set one this week. And if you need to say to somebody, hey, this is new for me, I don't really know how to do it. I'm feeling clumsy. I'm feeling self-conscious, but I really need to do this to protect myself. Could you give me some grace while I work through this? The people that really, truly care about you and want the best for you will hear that from you. And if you want to go deeper on this, you belong in power. Honestly, this is the work we do inside power. It's the nervous system work. It's the boundary setting. And the truth is, I used to think you needed a boundary script to do this. But what I didn't realize is that until your nervous system is on board, you can have the script, you won't use it. We got to get the nervous system on board. And then what starts to happen is the boundaries fall out of your mouth. You're just like, oh, here's the boundary. I'm not available for that. It feels really good. It feels like freedom. And that, oh, that's a good goal. So your action step for number 2 is you're going to make a list of boundaries that you know you need and then set it. Now, this is a little nuanced here, but I think it's important to mention your boundaries are about you. Your boundaries are not about other people. You can't set boundaries around what somebody else will do. You can set boundaries around what you are available for and what you are willing to tolerate. So, little nuance there that's important to say. All right, let's move in to the third thing. So, I had a phone call this week, and this is a phone call with somebody who I care about. Like, I value this person, I value their friendship. They're an important person. And I know that there's a little bit of an energetic something happening. So we have been trying to get something on the calendar since January of 2026. It is now August 2026, and there were multiple cancellations on this other person's part. So many so that in April, I said, look, I'm just not available. This is a boundary. I'm not available to have dates on my calendar to just have them canceled because it feels really disappointing. And then I really think it's damaging our relationship. So from now on, why don't you just look at your calendar a week ahead? Let me know when you have capacity and we'll get together if I'm free. But I'm no longer available to hold these dates in the future to have them changed. That's a boundary. Okay. Okay. Going back into the story. So I said that in April. It's now August. We have texted back and forth multiple times. We had a phone call once. And then I got another text that said, hey, I have some time this week. Are you available to meet? And I said, yes, I am. It's a busy week. I've got a lot of different moving parts that are not usually on my plate and not usually moving parts. But yes, if you don't mind me driving while we connect. And so we arranged a time. And then here's where it starts to get interesting. So we arranged the time And we began the phone call, and immediately I felt a little like drop in my energy. I was like, ooh, okay, this is interesting. Just noticing a little drop in my energy. And then I was out doing some things for my daughter while I was having this conversation. And I had been transparent with the person I was on the phone call with that I was going to be multitasking, getting out of the car, doing things for my daughter, and then getting back in the car and then driving and so forth. And as I was talking, I felt a little bit of like a warning in my body, like warning energy, but then warning you're doing something you promised yourself you weren't going to do again, which was listening to some complaining. And so I was paying attention to those warnings, but I was also multitasking. And then the phone call dropped, like completely went silent. And I was like, oh, okay. What does that mean? And I was like, I think you know what it means, Brenda. It means your guides have intervened. There's something misaligned. So I finished doing the things for my daughter, get back in the car. I'm driving again. The phone rings. It's the same person. And I can't hear the person. I can hear like their voice, sort of, but I can't hear any words. And then the call drops again. And I'm starting to realize something's happening here energetically. I can't get the phone call. My own energy is dropping. Um, Two more times, the phone rang, couldn't hear, and then I kept driving. So four phone calls total so far. Three of them have dropped. Well, all four of them have dropped. So then I kept driving. I decided I was going to go pick up some quick groceries. I had to get string cheese for Bentley. And I like the string cheese at Trader Joe's because it's firmer. And the other string cheese is kind of soft and it gets all over my hands when I squish it to pull a piece off for Bentley. So I don't like it. I mean, it tastes good. It's great string cheese, but it's not good for dog treats. So I was in Trader Joe's and the phone rings. Again, this is call five now. So the phone rings again and I text, can I call you later? Decided I was not going to take the call in Trader Joe's. So by now I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to really be careful of my energy because I have this TikTok live coming up. So this is five calls, about 40 minutes. We've had maybe 10 minutes of actual talking time. Otherwise it's like back and forth and I'm realizing this is energetically expensive. So I send out a text when I get back into the car. I have 15 minutes until the live. And that would give me 15 minutes to reset my energy, turn on my lights, so on and so forth. So the phone rings again. This is call number six. And then this time the call stayed. And there was a little bit of questioning about how was I, what was I doing, what was I focusing on? And then it went into a very long, very distressing, very energetically expensive story. And I was watching the clock and I realized, okay, I said I had 15 minutes. Now we're at 17. I really have to get off the phone. And so, we said goodbye. We closed it out. I'm feeling a little bit like I've been through a windstorm, honestly. Like my eyes felt a little puffy, like gritty, like I'd been in the wind. And I noticed my energy wasn't quite where it should be, but I was like, I'll be okay. It'll be fine. And then I played a couple of songs from a playlist that I love to use before I go live. And I zipped myself back up. I got on the live and it went fine. I mean, nothing bad happened at all. But I had 25% of the engagement that I typically have on a live. I'm blowing up on TikTok right now. I mean, I'm not in the hundreds of thousands or even the tens of thousands right now, but I've almost quadrupled my following in the last 3 weeks. And so over 3 weeks time to be from 1,200 people following me to 3,900 people following me today is significant. And TikTok itself is monetized and I'm like, what is even happening right now? Readings are selling and it's just pretty wonderful. But that particular live was 25%. Not down 25%, it was down 75%. It was 25% of what it really is. So I was listening to like business problems, family problems, highly stressful, unresolved, emotional reactivity. And the thing is, I knew after the first drop the dropped call that there was misalignment. And that was like a little, hey, here's a chance for you to get off the phone. I knew after the second time. I was the one who kept answering the phone. And then I was the one who texted my availability. That's not on this person. That's on me. That's on me. The other person has done nothing wrong here. The other person was doing what we used to do. I had not set an appropriate boundary to protect my own energy. I want to be really clear about that. This has nothing to do with this person is good, this person is bad. Nope, 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 nope. The lesson is I am responsible who gets access to my energy. I am responsible for that. I am the one who's responsible for either setting the boundary or not setting the boundary. I am responsible for noticing, is my energy being boosted by this? Is there an energetic exchange or is this an energetic tax? So I can't prove that this conversation caused my life to perform differently. What I can tell you for sure is that I felt different going into it. And for the first time, this felt so tangible about what it will really cost me when I ignore that feeling and those little signs of, ooh, this is energetically heavy. This is a lot. So I'm just wondering, when you notice these types of feelings and you notice these little warnings in your own life, are you noticing them or are you ignoring them? Because I'm telling you, it's costing you more than you think. It's costing you potentially creativity. It's costing you financially. It's costing you in your parenting, in your business, in your job searching. If you're job searching, it's costing you your intimacy. It's costing you bandwidth and ability to make decisions that are aligned and clean. It's costing you in the energy you have left for you. If you've been listening to this and you've been thinking, Brenda, I do this all the time, I want you to hear me. This is the work. Power is for the empath who already knows she feels everything, or he, but hasn't yet learned how to live, lead, love, and make decisions without constantly organizing herself around everyone else's energy. It's for the woman who can feel the whole room, but still learning how to not be responsible for the energy and the emotions of the whole room. It's for the woman who knows she needs boundaries, but still feels fear, guilt, or even danger when she actually sets them. It's for the woman who's done paying for her sensitivity with her own energy and life force. Enrollment for the next power cohort opens in early September. We begin on Tuesday, September 29th, and our calls are Tuesday evenings Pacific time from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Now, I want to come back to the phone call. I could have made this conversation about her. I could have told you she took my energy. But if I did, that would be me giving away my power all over again. I was the one who kept answering the phone. That's the part I have control over. Protecting your energy is not about controlling who asks for access. We don't have control over who's going to ask for access. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. We do have control about deciding what happens when they do. That's the power move. You see how that works? Power. Power, self-trust for empaths is built on an acronym: presence, optimized wisdom, embodiment, and renewal. But it works in so many ways because, example, the power move, you decide who has access. Thank you so much for listening. I am so excited to be bringing you the Judith Orloff podcast conversation on the 30th of August. And we've got some amazing episodes coming up. I also want to know, what do you want to hear about? So email me or DM me on whatever social platform we're connected on. Let me know what you want to hear about in the podcast. And if you could please take a moment to leave the podcast a rating, review, or comment wherever you're listening, it would mean so much. And lastly, if this episode meant something to you, would you please share it with somebody you care about? Thanks for being here. Bye for now. Until next time.